straight new wave. Name straight new wave. Name straight new wave. Name straight new wave.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to some more CGL playoff action. We're finally going to get going on some more matches here. Tonight, we've got a matchup in our Diamond playoff. I actually think that this is Masters, but it's between Kings. Is it Diamond?
Yep.
I'm hallucinating things then. But it's going to be between King's Gambit and No One. Tonight, I am joined by To Try Hard Ray. How are you doing tonight, Ray?
I'm doing fantastic. I am very excited to see these teams match up against each other. I was with Chef Billy on the selection show for NA when King's Gambit picked No One. I think it was just like a spin of the wheel. But both teams came on and they were like, listen, we don't really play the game that much anymore. We don't scrim, but both teams feel like they're just mechanically the best team in this tier. So we're going to see a collision of teams who are very skillful, but we might not see the best team coordination.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this is the Diamond tier, so, you know, it's not where you would have expected to see, like, the peak of cohesion to begin with, but I think it's quite a bold statement to say that you can win a tournament and not scrim ever. And I think before you said that No One actually came second in the mid-season tournament, which gave them a couple of extra maps on the season, and then they just forfeited the rest.
Something like that. They definitely were not trying in the second half.
Yeah, but you know, No One and King's Gambit. King's Gambit, I think, actually finished pretty high in the standings in the Diamond tier. 1 second, and
they were second or third, from what I remember.
Yeah. Okay, so I can't find anything, but they're pretty high. King's Gambit, they are. You know, I think they went 6-2 from what I saw earlier in the regular season. So a pretty good team, and No One is a bit of an unknown, just simply because they haven't played much recently.
Couldn't agree more. While we're talking about this, let's go ahead and pull up the rosters for you to get a closer look. We will start with King Gambit's lineup. I mean, very strong team. I'm very excited in the meta that we're in because we just had a meta drop last week on Tuesday. So teams have had just over a week to really get used to this new meta. But from what I've experienced, it is not very fun for the tanks, man. You're dealing with Sombras, you're dealing with Maze, you're dealing with Bastions. It is not a fun time. So the tanks being able to coordinate well and have a lot of flexibility in what they can play is going to be a key component for them getting that victory tonight.
I could not agree more. I mean, Sombra, you know, you not only is the player having to learn how to play essentially a brand new play style with Sombra, you've also got teams trying to learn how to play around a Sombra, you know, both with or against. She's an entirely different animal than she's ever been. She has far more uptime. She's not, you know, slinking around in the back nearly as much. So it is going to be an interesting thing to see if these teams are going to bring out the Sombra. But let us take a look at no one's roster real quick. It is going to be Distill and Picjo on the DPS, Splash on the tank, and Munching and Burrito holding it down on the back line. And, you know, Munching, I believe, is one of our stream friends, chilling out on in the staff. But other than that, I don't know much about these players because I played in the Diamond tier last year. But I mean, I've never had to run into any of these guys because I was just playing console.
A lot of these players have a lot of history within CGL. Munching's been, you know, in the staff, and he's played for many teams in Tier 2 and Tier 3. Splash and Burrito, I used to play against them in Tier 2. They're now, this is back on console, they're now a PC team in this tier. So they have, I mean, there's a lot of history, a lot of familiar faces. So it's no surprise, but again, like we mentioned, King's Gambit was the higher seed, so no one playing a little bit of an underdog role, which they're not normally used to. But as we say that, a matchup has to start somewhere, and we do have that map pick coming in from King's Gambit, and we are starting on Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, traditionally a super brawl heavy map, right? So I'm kind of expecting, you know, a Reinhardt or an Orisa, but what I've noticed recently, and, you know, with these teams just claiming to be, you know, stronger mechanically, I don't expect to see the hard meta, which I feel like has been leaning towards Sigma Poke. So I think that could be an option, but I do really expect, like, you know, Reinhardt, an Orisa, Junker Queen, something like that.
Yeah, I definitely think Lijiang Tower is going to favor its brawl compositions quite a bit, and Billy Splash is no he's no too familiar from the Reinhardt. Very good main tank player. We see him also play a lot of Wrecking Ball. Not sure if that's going to be the best suited tank for this map, but I definitely expect to see a lot of brawl weather. I mean, it could do different variations, like you mentioned. There's the Ryan, there's the Junker Queen, but I think Orisa is always going to be on the table, and then that Sigma variation of Rush we've seen with the Bash and May could also be on the table.
Yeah, and we're gonna actually get to see what these teams are gonna come out on. No one coming in here, you know, like you said, a little bit more lax with what they're doing, so I'm interested to see. But it's gonna be a Wrecking Ball coming out from no one with the Tracer and the Farm Mercy. So they don't have a lot of healing output from the side of no one. And King's Gambit doing something really traditional: Bastion, Symmetra, Reinhardt, Lucio, Bap. So just a regular old rush for King's Gambit, and something really, really interesting for no one.
Yeah, I think on a map like Garden specifically, this ball, this Pharmacy Tracer combination, it's definitely viable on this map. There's a lot of open space to work with. So this is the one map where you're gonna be able to get away with a composition like this, especially with King's Gambit not having really any hit scan available for the Pharah except for the Baptiste.
Yeah, and Splash tried to get that slam in, found a little bit of damage, but had to roll out quite quickly there. It looks like King's Gambit has taken, like, the control of the positioning on the point, and nobody has gone down just yet. Speaking of, it is going to be Munching finding the first pick on Panda in that Lucio duel. Najila so low, so gone. And it's Distill in the top of the point that has found all but one of the kills on to King's Gambit, and no one's gonna get the first flip here.
And Distill known for being such a fantastic and dominant Pharah player. So King's Gambit gonna have their work cut out for them. They're already making huge swaps. They're going over to the Winston and bringing a Sombra and an Echo to try and help duel this Pharmacy in the air.
Yeah, so Snoops with that pocket, hopefully going to be able to take care of Distill in that Sky battle. But a great direct rocket there from Distill. pushes Snoops down out of the sky for the time being. Now it'll be Boxer that wants to take the point here, and it'll be a trade of support. Burrito for Najila. The barrage comes out. It's gonna find Panda. Snoops trading it in kind with the sticky grenades, but no one slowly but surely bringing this fight out, and they're gonna be the one that comes out on top of it, with Snoops just taking so long to die.
Again, this composition that no one is running, it thrives on chaos and isolation, and they've been doing a great job as Distill now being forced over to that capacity. Is gonna help deal with this echo that we've seen come out from King's Gambit, but I'm a little surprised he decided to abandon a Pharaoh like that.
And a beautiful stick from Pick. It'll be a trade though. Distill goes down. So it's gonna be King's Gambit without their Kiriko player and no one without their Cassidy, but Burrito is happy to bring Distill right back into the action, as is Panda gonna bring back Boxer Walker. Panda is so low, gonna get found by everyone, and the Fan the Hammers come out, and Boxer Walker's not particularly scared of the Winston, but that's an angry looking monkey right there. Gonna not mean much, but this point is slowly but surely falling out of King's Gambit's hands here. The Primal Rage has faded away, as has the health pool for Boxer Walker. The Mercy pops the Valk. Panda there drops the Valk, and the double kill on the slam from Splash is going to secure the first point 100-0 for no one.
What a dominant first round coming out from no one. The most favorable map that we could have gotten for the ball composition that they do like playing, as we now move into the control center, which is probably the worst map you could have gotten for the ball composition. This is King Gambit's opportunity to really swap over to this Rhine Brawl and make it work. But no one does not look like they have any kind of idea of changing anything up as we're sitting right now. But King's Gambit got to make some changes. I mean, they're the favorites here. So for no one to come out, as we mentioned, no one is very confident in their skill. They, you know, gave up a lot of games. They just don't play as much anymore, but their skill is shining through.
Yeah, and it'll be almost a full mirror. Snoop switches over to the Junkrat Scary in the up close and personal areas of Control Center. So we'll see if that switch is going to get the value that they want. But Splash has been caught out, the shield gone, but the peel for the Reinhardt is good, and they're gonna be able to keep Splash up and kicking. Boxer Walker now under a similar amount of pressure with the microwave set up there by Pick. No one has the control of the area of the point, but has not flipped yet. It will be the first flip to go to no one, and Boxer Walker pins in, gets so low, but Splash is having a similar issue. Both of these Reinhardts refusing to die, and it will be Panda that goes down early here in this fight. And with that, it's gonna look like King's Gambit will fall.
Losing your Lucio in that fight is absolutely devastating. With these Rhine Brawl compositions, that speed boost is so important to be able to rotate in and away from the enemy opposition. So Panda going down early was not great for King's Gambit, and they used that amplification matrix in that fight while no one didn't use anything. So absolutely devastating first fight for King's Gambit.
The airstrike comes out from the still. It forces out the immortality field. Both shatters come out. Both are blocked, but Splash's shield goes away a little bit faster. But it's going to be a trade of Reinhardt, and Snoop goes down immediately after Boxer did. That is a travesty for King's Gambit after taking down Splash early.
That was their opportunity to really try and get into that fight, and it just was not working for them. No one now has this momentum shifted back in their favor, and they can use ultimates. The tire comes out. Can it find something?
Tire looking for a pick here. The beats coming out from both sides at the same moment. Can the Rip Tire find a pick? No, Pick takes out the Rip Tire. So nobody goes down to Snoop's Rip Tire there. Now we're going to see the airstrike out from Goose. Can that find a pick? Splash so low, but Snoop is a trade. Panda goes down, and no one. I mean, it's a scrappy fight. King's Gambit is a 2-for-2 trade here. They're gonna get the flip, But are they going to chase these kills? It looks like they will. Boxer Walker walking in on the Bastion with that wheel form. It does a lot of damage, and no one is already back. And Panda gonna go down early again. The Lucio going down first in the second fight, second out of the last three fights. Snoop having switched over to the Mei, goes down with the help of everybody, and now no one just looking to put the nail in the coffin at 90%.
Again, and with all these staggers that are coming in, it's just making it impossible for them. And that should be all she wrote. We do see a late person coming onto the point, but it might just be too little too late. Yeah, Panda goes down, and no one is going to be taking map number 1, King Gambit's choice, in extremely dominating fashion.
Yeah, and I mean, like, whether it was the interesting Lucio Mercy ball comp that they had, we're going to see here, this still absolutely popped off on the Thera, on Gardens here. Whether it was that Wrecking Ball comp or the Rhine comp, playing what King Gambit wanted to play, I mean, they just looked better in all facets. They were firing on all cylinders, and King's Gambit just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more, as again, they have always been a strong contender in these whatever division they play in, whether it's been console plat, console diamond, now they're NA Masters, in the PC division. They have always been a strong team, and they've played together for so long, so it's no surprise to me that despite not really giving it, their all in the second half of the season, they're still able to come together, have that skill, and just that time they put in together over the years coming through very well for them.
Yeah, and I think they did a really good job at focusing out Panda, especially on Control Center. Without that Lucio, the Reinhardt kind of just becomes a sitting duck. And I mean, you have the Symmetra to chauffeur you. Actually, no, King's Gambit didn't have a Symmetra, I don't think, if I remember correctly.
They were playing Bastion Junk.
Yeah, they were playing Bastion Junk on Control Center. That's what I thought. So they didn't have that chauffeur. And with the Lucio going down early so much, you just had to stand your ground and fight, and no one is happy to take advantage of that. And they did almost perfectly.
That they did. And then I think going forward, the fact that we've gotten Lijiang Tower out of the way, most of the hybrid maps are going to be so conducive to playing these Wrecking Ball compositions that no one loves to play. It is going to be rough sledding for King's Gambit going forward. They will have a map pick that we will be getting in shortly, but man, no one just off to a fantastic start.
Yeah, they look scary. I mean, if you want to bring the Pharah back out, which is it's a little bit unconventional, right? It's you don't see Pharah in a lot of spots. Lijiang Tower is one of her most favorable maps, of course, but Distill looked great on the Pharah. It was really hard to punish them, whether they switched or not. I mean, it just looked like no one had the edge in every single engagement on Lijiang Tower, and King's Gambit, they took a flip there on Control Center, but it wasn't a full fight win. It was a great disengagement from no one, where they immediately got the 2 that they lost and came back and pushed King's Gambit out. So, they may not scrim as much as anybody else does, but they're still locked in, and they want to win because they're here. You might as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. We do have the map pick coming in from King's Gambit, and they will be taking us to King's Row. But I mean, the nickname is Scrims Row. This is the map everyone tends to think of when you think of hybrids, so it's not a big shock. But I do think, normally King's Row is synonymous for just brawl. You just think, I'm pulling out my Reinhardt and we're gonna have a just an honorable Reinhardt duel. But I think this Wrecking Ball could be extremely valuable, especially on first point, knocking around the Reinhardt out of, you know, the corner holds, and Distill on the Pharah could just absolutely disrupt a lot of things. So I think if you are King's Gambit, you got to be very weary of running into a ball composition.
Yeah, and I mean, Wrecking Ball recently, in that patch that you were talking about earlier from last week, he got a pretty decent buff that made him a lot more lethal without, you know, having to just be the disruptor. He you know, I think it was the spread of his guns got a little bit of a buff, so he is a lot more reliable when you want to you know, get those kills outside of the ball form. You don't have to rely on the combos anymore, you know, the slam roll, knocking people off maps. You can rely on your aim now more than ever with Wrecking Ball. And then, you know, with how no one wants to play the game, you know, they have that Tracer, the Pharah. I mean, they're looking really scary even moving forward into King's Row, where, you know, Wrecking Ball isn't seen as you know, a peak choice.
As we load you guys into the server, King's Gambit facing down 1-0. Cannot afford to lose. I mean, you can afford to lose another map, but in my opinion, reverse sweeps are just so hard to come by that you got to make sure you tie it up right here, right now. As we see defensively coming out from King's Gambit, they're going to stick the Reinhardt, and they're going to go May Bastion. This is what I've been seeing around in the collegiate levels, is playing some sort of brawl, whatever kind of brawl tank you favor, Junker Queen, Orisa, Reinhardt, but May Bastion has been a potent damage output, just destruction. Like, May with her primary fire buff is a menace right now.
Yeah, I mean, 100 damage per second. That's it shreds. I've seen it. But no one coming out on a different variation of a dive comp with Splash on the Doomfist. So we'll see what kind of merits this has as we get into the first fight. Goose immediately dropping into the wheels form, feeding Splash the empowered punch of the Doomfist, but you know, Splash is also doing a little bit of feeding there as Sadoop and the gang take down the Doomfist. Panda getting a little bit of revenge on Munching, and immediately no one gonna switch the game plan.
Yeah, they're gonna go over the Reinhardt. When they were sitting and spawn on the Doofus, I didn't want to comment on it because I was so sure they were gonna swap it. But I guess they just gave it one fight, see if they could get a pick, and it just, I guess, made Bastion. There's not a lot you can do. His block that he does is, you're just gonna get melted by May Bastion even through that block.
Yeah, go right back into this next fight, going down on the back of the point. Disruptor shot, causing a little bit of issues, having to play around it a little bit, not give that damage to the Sojourn. It's a great wall from Snoop to cut Splash off with, able to get around the side of it, and no one's gonna actually grab a bit of a tick here. So, you know, they've got a win condition already, but not happy with that, of course. Just still gonna kill Snoop there on the May, and now a Lucio duel has emerged here. A great block there on the Shatter by Splash, and they're not even gonna need theirs, as it is just Panda left riding these walls and riding right into the spawn room.
Nicely played by Distill, being able to get that opening pick on the Widow, really open the floodgates for no one to be able to push in and get extremely aggressive. And as you mentioned, getting that block of the Shatter from Boxer Walker was key from Billy Splash. And that's a lot of the Ryan duel, is, you know, being able to play those mind games when it comes to the ultimate. And that is 1-0 in the favor of Splash on
It's an attempt at a pin on the Splash there from Boxer Walker, but Distill is happy to rip the head off of Panda. It will be a nice little trade there. You'll take that if you're King's Gambit. The Reinhardt is gone for no one, but, you know, they're happy with that, actually. They're going to cut it off and walk forward.
But with the spawn advantage coming out for no one, I know you got the Lucio was the one that died, but the Reinhardt's gonna be back fast. You have to, you know, look to not play too aggressive. They're having to back up just a little bit because of that.
Yeah, Shatter came out from no one. I believe it got blocked by Boxer Walker once again there. But the still continues to dominate. Another headshot to take down Goose. So, I mean, with that, it's just this fight's just already over, and Splash with 3.
The aggression coming out from no one. They just knew the green light was up. We just got to speed past this window, beat, and we're going to be looking solid. Unfortunately for no one, they don't have any ultimates on the table as King Gambit's coming back with a plethora. And I'm looking at Snoops with this Blizzard. Could be absolutely devastating, and it should be the only ultimate you need to win this fight.
Getting right back in here, though. Reinhardt's trading fire strikes. Here's the airstrike to start us out, and Splash has another shatter blocked by Boxer Walker. None of the shatters have hit thus far on this map, but Boxer Walker, that hammer does so much damage, and no one is feeling the effects. Still finding picks, but will go down late.
Well, that works too. You could use the other ultimates in lieu of just the Blizzard, and you're gonna get the same result. And they're able to build a shatter in the meantime. So this is King's Gambit opportunity to burn a lot of time off this clock while no one is still trying to regain their footing when it comes to the ultimate market. The stocks are very low for no one, as King's Gambit looking to play a lot of aggression here, but they have to be careful with Picjo on this off angle.
It was a nice little shot there onto Najila to take the back piece down to happen. You gotta think, no one is wary of the Blizzard, but it will be Splash that gets caught up in it. The shatter comes out, it hits Splash, but this still hits a headshot onto Snoop. It's gonna be a great fire strike to follow up on some damage onto the Still. And, you know, the Blizzard didn't find the final blow, but you're happy for that if you're King's Gambit and the time continues to lead.
It did the damage it needed to. It got Splash caught to where he couldn't get out. And then by the time it ended, even though he wasn't dead, he was so low. So he was pretty much minced meat at that point. However, Burrito coming back. We're going to have a combination of a possible overclock with an Amp Matrix. King's Gambit. They've lost Panda, and it's looking bleak now.
That was a great stick from the Still with that Bastion grenade. Down into Wheels form now for Distill, who has switched over to the Bastion. Goose is able to take down Splash, who pinned in there, but Boxer Walker follows in suit, and, you know, Goose gonna do a little bit of damage to themselves, but happy to take down Munching, but Joe is able to get the final blow there.
Nice work, team.
And that is going to be HP for no one. Finally found their footing, was able to, you know, get the momentum off the picks that Picjo was able to find with the overclock, and now you're looking very good if you're no one. Only 2 minutes left on the clock though, so no one doesn't have a lot of time to mess around to be able to try and get completion on this point, but they have 2 support holdings.
Picjo goes flying off the map, and Splash has another shatter block! Able to take down Najila, but the beat from Panda is good for to make the team door, but another boom from Panda to take out Splash. Panda with 2 boosts in this fight, and I mean, no one looking a little bit worse for wear here. Is that another one? It was another one. Snoop goes off the map. This time it's Munching. Panda getting very low and going down to Munching. The Shatter's gonna come out from Boxer Walker, and it'll hit the Still. Splash and Goose are gonna trade right there. Boxer Walker's down, but Goose still prevails, and I mean, the Bastion continues to find the pigs, and the Lucios are fighting more environmental kills than I've ever seen on this map.
Panda said, listen, I know I got farmed by you guys last map. Time for me to do a little bit of farming. 2 boops in that fight. Incredible. Snoops has a Blizzard to continue to defend here. No one relying once again on Picjo. Has this overclock in the back pocket to be able to use here. And, I mean, we're coming up on what could be final fight territory.
Shield very low for Splash, and Snoop getting hit in the body by that railgun from Picjo. Has to get out of the way. Overclock comes out, it finds Panda, but it's gonna be a trade. Panda for Distill, Blizzard is out. Splash gets frozen up, and Munching with another boop there. I don't know if that was off the map or just a final blow, but I mean, another great pick there by Lucio, and it is a 2, I believe, at this moment, and I think Goose has come back. Okay, so Goose is in the fight here. Distill has switched over to the Tracer and immediately takes out the Bastion, putting a lot of pressure on to Snoop, already getting so close. And Panda goes off the map. The window comes out from Najila. I don't know if it'll be enough. I mean,
I'm not sure. Oh,
and that will be no one maybe fully capping. It's a beat from Panda to keep the team alive. The Shatter is blocked. Munching drops the beat to try and keep no one in this fight too. But it looks like Munching's later beat, of course, usually the case, is going to be the one that comes out on top. Everybody just trying for these desperation touches. It's just Snoop left alive on the Genji, and after a hard-fought battle, no one is gonna fully cap on King's Row.
in overtime, however, so after kind of giving up the first point rather quickly, if you're King's Gambit, you're able to take all that time off the clock. Would you have liked to stop them from finishing it? Sure, but it's tough to get a full hold on King's Row. So I think, you know, bringing this to overtime is going to be a big step. The one thing for King's Gambit is, so they're gonna have to finish this map themselves, obviously, to try and bring us to extras, but I feel like you got to put yourself in a position, finish with more than a minute left on the clock, so you don't even have a possibility of losing this map. Take no one's opportunity out of the, take their fate out of their own hands.
Yeah, and it's a very, very real possibility. I mean, King's Gambit, you know, eventually they lost out, but they played so very well on all but point A. I mean, they knocked, what, 2.5 minutes just about off on B, and another 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes on C. I mean, they're not backing down from a no one right now. They are doing something potentially a little bit different here with Snoop coming out on the Bastion. That's what I meant to say, is the Bastion. No other character has ever crossed my mind to say.
3, 2, 1.
Had a Bastion on the brain, as we're gonna get King's Gambit. They're
okay. Boxer
Yeah.
Walker pressing shift somehow is alive right now. God knows how that happened. But Snoop on the offense, trying to put in some damage with that wheels form of the Bastion. Distill is so low, but it's gonna be Goose that actually goes down here slowly but surely to the Venom Mine, and Munching gonna get that final blow. Splash got shattered so fast but died out of it. So, I mean, the Reinhardt is gone for the defense, but Distill with 3!
Distill absolutely having his way with your entire team. They tried putting pressure on him right from the get-go, which is what you're gonna have to do if you're King's Gambit. But incredible peel coming out from Munching, putting pressure onto Goose and forcing him out of there and allowing Distill to completely control that high ground. And because of that, he's able to just pop and get 3 kills just like that. So you gotta be very careful. If you're King's Gambit, they're down Goose already.
Splash with a great fire strike on it to the Goose there. The Sojourn no longer in the battle here. Immortality Field also used by Najila, so they don't have that pivotal cooldown anymore. But you know what no one doesn't have? They don't have Munching anymore. The Lucio is gone for no one. Both windows are out, as is the Shatter from Boxer Walker. It finds nothing, as 5 people are frozen by the blizzard from Pick Joe. A colossal blizzard to put King's Gambit in the dirt.
Clutchness coming out from no one as Distill finds another. Distill is having himself a game. I talked about how he was such a talented player as he finds another, but he is proving himself to be just as deadly on the Widowmaker.
Everybody on the side of King's Gambit having a great game. Munching a little bit too big for his britches there. Going into the spawn door of King's Gambit. The sights are now up for Distill. Snoop assuredly gonna try and find Distill, and will. So that is 2 for the side of King's Gambit right there. Boxer Walker able to clean up on the damage, goes down to Piccolo and Big Joe and Burrito, chasing Splash into the pub. not gonna chase anymore, but that will be King's Gambit finally taking point A.
However, it was a very long and hard-fought fight for King's Gambit. Almost 75% of their time was taken off of that clock by no one. Fortunate for King's Gambit was no one expended a couple of ults, but Distill finds another pick. This man is on a tear.
Still ripping heads off left and right, trying to put that pressure down there. They don't have the burst damage to hit Distill from that far away, so you're relying almost entirely on Goose, who went down early there. So still has full reign over this choke and finds another headshot onto Panda. It doesn't stop. You can't stop it. Distill continues to be a force of nature. The shatter hits 2 on King's Gambit. Flash with a big shatter. One of the few that have actually not gone into a shield there. But they don't have a shield, so the shatter hits, and it's an Ajax for Munching, trying to save the life of the Reinhardt and the Baptiste, but the Lucio goes down during the cast time, and it's going to be King's Gambit continuing to push this card.
As we see a little bit of shenanigans in the chat, Splash saying, I'm trading my Lucio. Oh, poor Munching. Very unfortunate to catch that one live. As, however, no one gets to come back. They're gonna have an overclock. They have an Ant Matrix to work with. Panda's the one has the ability to mitigate most of these ultimates coming in this next fight. Has to be picture perfect with the timing of the sound barrier.
Here comes the first ultimate. It is the fight from Distill, responded to by the overclock from Goose. What can they do? Both overclocks have been used, but Goose is the one that finds the first pick. Joe has to get out and live, and that will be King's Gambit taking point C. And since they kept point, they haven't stopped moving.
And it was very well done for King's Gambit. As I mentioned, Panda negated most of the effect of that overclock and amplification matrix. They got one pick, and it wasn't enough between those two ultimates, and they're able to cap the point because of that. And like I mentioned, they are on pace to possibly finish with over a minute on the clock. They gotta be, I mean, they can only afford to probably lose one more fight, but they are well on their way.
Munching wants it. Oh, doesn't quite find Najila, able to stay up on the very, very edge of that high ground. The window comes out from Najila, and Splash goes down. The Reinhardt player for the side of no one goes down early, but it's gonna be traded by Picjo. The railgun gonna find the Bastion here. So, I mean, Burrito solo has to use that immortality field to stay alive. Pops that regenerative burst. The shatter comes out, it both miss. Hits, actually, Boxer Walker's hits Distill, and Panda's able to clean up on it. Boxer Walker pins, Munching the overclock, comes out from Picjo, only finds the immortality field, and it is just Splash left on the card, and King's Gambit finish with not just time, not just a minute, but almost 2 minutes.
And this is the kind of attack King's Gambit needed. I called for it, and they deliver in spades. They have taken no one's fate out of their own hands. We're either King's Gambit is tying this series up, or we are getting a draw. But you cannot relax yet if you're King's Gambit. Remember what I said? It took them 75% of their 4-minute time bank to cap the first point. Well, they only have half of that time. So they're gonna, I mean, they don't have to fully cap, but the point is still there. You gotta make sure you do this decisively and quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to cap in less than 12. No, they weren't actually. They struggled a little bit on. Did they?
Yeah, it took them 3 minutes to cap that.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. I mean, they were able to get it in less than 2 minutes, but then I corrected myself. No, it took them a while the first time through, so they're gonna have to change a little bit about what they did on their last attack, and it looks like they're coming out of the door that's covered in dust in the spawn of King's Row.
3, 2, 1.
King's Gambit continuing to keep Goose on this Hanzo, adds that potential one pick with the arrows. So if you're no one, you have to be very careful, as Distill is not on this Widow, who was just devastating and just finding picks constantly, and was a big reason why they took a lot of time off the clock. Gonna go to the Bastion and try and have a lot more shield break potential.
And King's Gambit certainly pulling a Gambit right now. They want this point, and they're doing something, a very, very long rotation here around the high grounds of King's Row A. So we'll see if this play works out. I don't want to be cheeky and call it a Gambit anymore, but you know, that's what they're trying. They're trying something really, really interesting here as they take the far high ground finally here in the window on King's Row. Najila goes down but lands on top of Picjo's wall. So they're able to get out and away, and it's going to be Distill that goes down first. The Bastion for the side of no one is gone, and Snoop continues to find the picks. Boxer Walker is so low, getting swung on by Splash, but Najila is behind it out of the window already. They're on the point, and it's gonna be close. They're not gonna do it. No one is going to fall by the Wade side, and King's Row goes to King's Gambit.
Whew, let's go. It was like I mentioned, it took them a while to get that first point on their original attack, but once they got going, they did not look back, and they fire back after, as we mentioned, King's Gambit's the higher seed. They technically are the favored ones coming into this matchup, and to drop that first map, I'm sure was very disappointing to them. So to be able to come back, find some momentum, and get things going, I think this makes you feel better as a team. You're able to take a little bit of a sigh of relief. Like, all right, tie series. However, King's Gambit gets the next map pick. I believe it is Flashpoint for map number 3, and I think big possibility we're going to be seeing some more Wrecking Ball coming out of them.
I actually wouldn't be surprised about that, but you know, I haven't seen a whole lot of Wrecking Ball on Flashpoint. So Ray, in your expert opinion, which one do you think they're going to pick if they're if we're going with the idea of Wrecking Ball?
Wrecking Ball, I think the more open map to be able to play that is going to be Saravasa. But we will find out what no one is going to pick. We're going to take a short break, give these teams time to reset their mentals and get ready for map 3. Grab a drink, grab a snack. We'll be right back.
right, welcome back everybody to what has been actually a great series thus far between King's Gambit and No One. King's Gambit just evened the series up on King's Row, you know, in what was far more close than whatever happened on map 1 on Lijiang.
Yeah, I was definitely a little worried after how Lijiang went that King's Gambit could be in for a long day, but they are able to tie it up. King's Row, they're able to, I mean, I wouldn't say it was an absolute domination, but it's pretty good. I mean, they got over 2 minutes on the clock finishing, and then they're able to, you know, cap the first tick in 1 minute. It was pretty nicely done. We do have that map pick coming in from No One, and I kind of teased it before the break that I thought it would be Saravasa, and that's exactly where we're going, because I think it really is going to come down to the amount of Wrecking Ball they're going to be able to play on this map.
I mean, even if they don't want the Wrecking Ball, I think Saravasa is just by far the more popular of the two. I feel like it has like an 80% pick rate of between it and New Junk City. And I do think that it does lean more into the Wrecking Ball, but it leans more into just about everything else as well. So Saravasa is usually where my head goes when a Flashpoint map is gonna get picked. But yeah, it's been I mean, it hasn't been a dominant series either way, right? I usually see Flashpoint as a bit of a swing map type. But neither of these teams, I mean, these teams are slugging it out. Just haymakers left and right, especially on King's Row. So I'm interested to see which team is going to be able to take on this, on Saravasa, which is, you know, one of the newest maps in the game, not counting Samoa, which isn't even in the map pool.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the only time you favor King's Row, New Junk City is if you want to play more of a brawl style, like Reinhardt Junker Queen type composition. Outside of that, Saravasa is just the more versatile map. I mean, I'm excited. Flashpoint, I think it's been a great new addition to Overwatch. Just so much fast-paced, high-action play. I think like one of my favorite parts about it is just like after points have been capped, normally you'd expect a lot of slow time while teams are trying to get themselves situated and ready for the next fight, but a lot of times teams will take that minute to capitalize and pounce on a team mid-rotation before the point even unlocks and put themselves in a great spot.
Yeah, and we're seeing right now, I mean, interesting from No One. Back on the Doomfist is Splash. Distill coming out. Okay, no, it's gonna be the Wrecking Ball, which is kind of what you thought. But one thing that I noticed that they're lacking is a Lucio, which has traditionally, since Flashpoint has come into the game, been one of the most important characters on the map type, just by the fact that the map is so big, right? So I'm interested to see how is No One gonna play around their lack of speed as No One rolls through the entirety of King's Gambit here, taking multiple people, you know, a little bit low. The Wrecking Ball not quite finding everything, and that's a great spear from Boxer Walker to take down Munching. So the Kiriko is gone, as is Picjo on the Soldier. Is still able to get a trade though. So Panda goes down late in the fight here, but everybody is so low that it just doesn't even matter, and that will be No One taking market first.
Yeah, so it's kind of what I mentioned back on Lijiang Tower, that the ball composition thrives on a lot of chaos. You see a couple swaps coming at it from No One, which I think are really smart, going over to the Brig and the Ana. But they just, the diveable target in this composition that you're going to want to have your Genji and your ball coming together on is that Soldier 76, and I think they took the wrong push going after the Genji on that first attack. Soldier is the one you want. You gotta go after
Najila building up really close to this window. Munching has switched over to the break here, so a little bit of a change up there, assumingly to try and get rid of the dive of King's Gambit, or the Genji King's Gambit anyway. But it's going to be Splash that goes down early here. Najila gets traded out though, dashed through by Distill, and a Genji 1v1 on the top of this building. interfered by Burrito there. Beat comes through from Panda, and the Dragon Blade in response. Terra Surge comes out late, not gonna be able to find any of the value that you wanted to see from it, and that will be no one taking market finally.
99% was found for King's Gambit, so they just have to win one more team fight to bring this home. They're coming up on both of their DPS ultimates, so the key is Munching needs to build up to this rally to provide their team with that much needed sustain to help deal with this Visor for sure. Blade is not going to be much helpful. You're going to have to really look to Nano, but they've already lost to Still.
And he goes down early, and I mean, just Still, they're just falling like dominoes. King's Gambit just walked right through no one, and it's only Splash left alive to spin to win on this point on market. And the Wrecking Ball is so low and just gonna opt to get out here, and King's Gambit is going to take market.
And no ultimates required for King's Gambit. That was the best situation you could have ever asked for, and this is a very favorable point for them to be able to go take now. So now they get a hold defensively in Ruin, so the RNG gods are really favoring King's Gambit, and like I mentioned, 2 DPS ultimates for this fight.
So on the offense, they're trying to put in a little bit of damage from the side. Splash rolling in, slamming on the tank of King's Gambit. The Dragon Blade comes out. Snoop and takes down Big Joe. Boxer Walker able to take down the back line of no one, and you know, it's just Splash, and you know, without the rest of the team, just get out.
Yeah, you're gonna just have to roll on out of there if you are Splash. You're coming back to this next fight. No one should have the advantage. They have 3 ultimates to work with, but again, with this Orisa composition, she is so tanky, Fletch, like especially with a Baptiste, and then you can just rotate Immortality Field, Regenerative Burst, her Javelin Spin, her Fortify. There's not enough damage from this no one composition to be able to burst her down, so you have to thrive on going after these other targets.
Munching under a lot of pressure. The Tactical Visor comes out from Goose, but falls immediately to the minefield of Splash. And, you know, just take out everybody but the Orisa, and eventually you're going to win the fight, it looks like, as Panda in the rafters looking to try and keep this point alive for a little bit longer. Boxer Walker will be the last to go down, and no one will finally get the flip, but they've got an uphill battle.
An uphill battle indeed. That fight cost all 3 of the ultimates they had. They still will get a blade for this next fight, but the ultimate counter is in the pocket of Panda, has that sound barrier, and then they have to deal with a Terra Surge from Boxer Walker. King's Gambit, like I mentioned, is going to have this opportunity with the amount of tankiness to really get in here. There's the Terra Surge.
Terra Surge is out, and they've already found Munching, and both supports are now in the grave for no one. Snoop with the dash through Picjo at 90%. It's looking pretty dire for no one, but the Blade is gonna find 2 for Distill. The Genji goes it down late, and it's just Splash left on the point, joined in the end by Munching on the Lucio. The Wrecking Ball just being an absolute nuisance with a massive health pool there. Not able to quite find the Wrecking Ball yet, but Munching will go down. It looks like the Sojourn of Picjo has returned, but immediately gonna return back to the spawn. They're gonna find the minefield, but it's just too little too late. Distill dashes in, but it's just Distill and the minefield here. And, you know, even if they're split up, it'll still be King's Gambit taking the point here.
Flashpoint, Palace.
And that's 2 extremely quick, clean point fight wins for King's Gambit, not giving up much percentage on either of those points. No one now making some swaps. I think they just realized this Wrecking Ball composition is not going to work. As I said, they don't have that damage to outlast the tankiness that King's Gambit is playing. So now they are playing a Orisa of their own, and they have Distill going over to the Cassie.
Yeah. So they have a little bit more damage than they did before, but what they don't have at the moment is ultimates, which King Gambit has just about 5 of the window comes out, as does the Terra Surge. Big Joe's able to find a trade there, but Goose with 3 kills. And that will be King's Gambit taking the first flip on Palace.
Yeah, one can't help but think at this point, Fletch, is the compositional swatch coming out from no one too little too late. They're coming back. They have a treasure trove of ultimates to be able to use here, but so does King's Gambit. I'm looking at the sound barrier duels between Munching and Panda. They got to provide their teams the sustainability to counter a lot of these ultimates coming in.
Spear to push back Big Joe. Only briefly though. Slide comes out, already in here. In the rafters there. The Deadeye in response to the tactical visor. Oh no! That would have been so unfortunate for Panda if they were able to find that Deadeye, but not able to get around the corner fast enough. The Dragon Blade comes out, helps to take down Big Joe, and Burrito Solo goes down, and this is it. King's Gambit is going to take Servasa.
That was so clutch. The Panda had the better sound barrier. They pop the tactical visor first and force out Munching sound barrier, and then during all of that, when they pop all their other ultimates, their amplification matrix, their blade, Panda is there to be able to counter with the sound barrier. And because you forced out Munchings early with the tactical visor, this blade right here that Snoops came through is able to be the nail in the coffin, as King Gambit is now able to fire back in the series and take a resounding 2-1 lead.
Yeah, and I mean, they looked good on Servasa. At this point, I'm thinking maybe they just weren't ready on the Reinhardt on Lijiang,
Listen, it's a warm-up map. Well, that's what you always say, right? You drop the first one, it's just a warm-up.
Well, it might, you can call it a warm-up if you want, but they got dominated by the Wrecking Ball. They responded to the Wrecking Ball. I'm sure they expected no one to bring out the Wrecking Ball on Servasa just like we did. So they played the Orisa, and they won 3-0 on Servasa.
Yeah, Orisa can't get CC'd as much around the map as like a Reinhardt could, and then playing that Genji to go along with it. I mean, that blade was just tearing through some of the more squishy players when you're playing that Wrecking Ball composition. And that allows the Genji player, Snoops, for King's Gambit to go after some of the, because the Wrecking Ball compositions are pick-oriented compositions. Your support players are kind of on an island, so you're able, as a Genji, to go and after them much easier.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great adaptation, right? Like, Lijiang Tower wasn't close. I think they got 14% the entire map. And I just think that they weren't ready. But, I mean, the Genji, the Sojourn from Goose, everything just looked like a well-oiled machine for the side of King's Gambit on Servasa. They are, as this series continues, they're building momentum, right? Like, they got dominated in the first map. Good for them. They didn't sit there and say, oh, man, we just lost 200-14. We're done. We're cooked. No, they said, 0-0. 0-0 on the series. Go next. And they are answering. They're not letting that first map define their series. And now no one is on the ropes. And it's up to them to respond now.
Yeah, King's Gambit is now on match point. Could be sending no one to that loser's bracket. So the pressure's on no one. Map pick has come in from no one, and we are going to New Queen Street. And that's the big question for me. How does no one respond? Do they continue to try and play this Wrecking Ball composition that they're kind of known for? Or do they look to probably match what we're probably sure King's Gambit is going to play, which is that Orisa?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. If I'm no one, I try to adapt to something else. I mean, I think their Orisa comp could have worked on Servasa if, King's Gambit didn't have the wealth of ultimates that they had going into that last point. They needed to switch sooner. So I wouldn't be surprised if they look at themselves and they say, hey, Wrecking Ball's not going to work anymore. Maybe we just try and stick to the Orisa or even a Sigma. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Sigma come out. Well, I would be surprised, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think that if you want to stay in this series, if you don't want to fall to the losers bracket, you have to adapt and overcome. And King's Gambit has done a great job of that. How are you going to respond? One.
That's the name of the game when it comes to Overwatch, is adaptability and response. I mean, I actually thought when the Orisa went up against the Orisa that it wasn't a bad matchup. It was just at that point, you swapped too late. They had full command of the ult economy and you were pretty much cooked. So I think if you match this Orisa, you have a pretty good chance of forcing a map 5 if you are no 1. So time is going to tell us. We're about to get you guys straight into this map here shortly.
Yeah, I mean, 30 seconds to go, and it'll be no one fighting for their winner's bracket lives. How are they going to respond? That's the big question. I mean, they're a pretty nonchalant team, but you don't come in here expecting to lose, right? So, you know, they clearly want to win. They played so well on Kings Row and Lijiang Tower. So how are they going to come out? And I don't think this is how they're going to come out.
No. We'll start talking about a little bit of some King's Gambit action here. No surprises here, no swaps. They're gonna have Snoop and Goose on that Genji Sojourn combination. It works so well for them on that last map. So they have no reason to swap, as no one is going to die on the sword. However, this map is going to allow that opportunity to have Distill on the Pharah. So Goose and Najila gonna have to be ready to take on this pharmacy.
Yeah, so this is exactly what no one ran on Lijiang Tower. The Pharah, the Tracer, the Wrecking Ball, the Lucio, and the Mercy. So we'll see if they can dominate as hard as they did on King's Row with this composition. But King's Gambit has come out on the Orisa, so it will be actually no one starting off the fight fast and hard with 2 picks on the Goose and Najila. Flash getting so low. Has to play around those health packs more with the lower healing output that no one has at the moment, and it will be no one coming out on top of this fight.
I mean, just nice, clean, again, thriving on, I mean, it's creating chaos because you have a Wrecking Ball coming at you from one direction, then a Tracer from another, and then you have to worry about this Pharah looming above you in the skies. So it's a lot of different things you have to look at. For King's Gambit, it's all going to be about clear comms and clear and concise target focus, getting these targets down. And Splash is the one you have to ignore. You're not going to be able to focus down a Wrecking Ball very easily. I mean, you have an Echo down in this fight, so that might give you an opportunity, but it's just so speedy, Splash gets out.
Wrecking Ball will survive. Wrecking Ball will endure. Munching and Picjo are in the back line, and there's a trade. Najila on the Iari, going down in a trade with Burrito. Goose able to take down Distill. They have switched to the Pocket Soldier 76 here. The Pocket Echo, sorry. I got caught up a little bit. Saw the Mercy. But it'll be King Gambit. King's Gambit, they're still adapting.
Yeah, I think these are really good. Yeah, I think these are really good swaps from King's Gambit. Echo and Soldier, and the Iliari being able to come into this fight and being able to help go after the Pharah, and because of that, Distill is forced to swap. Now they have Distill going over to that Cassidy. So for Snoops, that is going to cause you to have to be a little bit more careful, but they have to be careful of these mines that just came in.
Minefield is out in Splash, but Boxer Walker is happy to tank them and break a few. Snoops does fall into the minefield, but Splash too slow to get the mega health pack. Panda gets the resurrection on to Snoop, but it's not, I mean, it's not gonna be enough for no one. I mean, they're gonna have to change it up, I think.
as you're going to be able to take the lead for King's Gambit. And this is going to take one more fight to be able to get this checkpoint, and we know how crucial the checkpoints are in a game mode like Push. No one's going to have a lot of sustain, both a sound barrier and a Valkyrie.
If the tactical visor comes out here, it's gonna take down Big Joe. Not gonna find another pick, but Splash is so worse for wear, and Najila going to get that final blow onto the Wrecking Ball, and that will be Butt Scratch activated for King's Gambit as Snoop is on a rampage on the high ground.
One has to question whether they now make a swap. Splash going over to the Zarya, which I think going up against Orisa could be a nice little win condition. You get yourself that high charge, and there's nothing Orisa can do to mitigate that. As this still finds 2 with the high noon.
Deadeye good for 2 here with the help of Burrito on the Mercy, having popped Valk there. And I mean, they may have lost the checkpoint and the lead, but I mean, they're trying to adapt themselves here.
You got a Sunstrike that you'll have to be careful about from King's Gambit if you're no one. However, you have a lot of tools to be able to mitigate it. You got Bubbles, which can cleanse away the Sunstrike, and then you have a Sound Barrier, which can help deal with the damage that come from the explosion. So a lot of tools to be able to deal with this troublesome ultimate of the Captain Sun.
Flash now down both bubbles, actually used selfishly there for himself. So no bubble for the Zarya, and Piccho is going to go down into the sticky grenades of Snoops. Snoops does get triggered out by the Distill. The Captain Sun comes out from Najila, but it's not good enough. Does not find any hits there as Distill continues to find kills here. Terra Surge out. If they find anything, they won't find a kill with the Terra Surge, but Goose is happy to keep spraying this damage in, and a late Graviton Surge from Splash. Munching has come back, taken down Goose. Boxer Walker is all alone here and will lose their life, and finally no one try and get this checkpoint.
So that's kind of what I was foreshadowing to earlier with this Zarya swap. If you can build up to a nice high charge, that Javelin Spin can do 0 to mitigate a primary fire of a Zarya. So it's a great counter for what King's Gambit is playing. And Distill, after getting 2 with his previous high noon, has built up to another. So King's Gambit has to be on the lookout for it.
A little bit worse for wear here. So they're just going to run away from the tactical visor. Splash below half HP continually here over the past few seconds. Finally gonna get topped off by the supports of no one. But I mean, unfortunately for Snoops, well, I say unfortunately for Snoops, able to dash out and get away from the damage from the Zarya and the Kitsune Rush. Deadeye comes out, does not find a pick, but just still happy to find a pick with a magnetic grenade. Captain Sun out for Distill. Munching goes down and as will Distill, and it's a great Captain Sun from Najila. She's able to find a couple of targets and a final blow, and Goose is able to clean up on the rest.
As that was so close to getting that checkpoint for no one but no cigar. And again, we talk about the importance of this checkpoint. You're gonna be able to put the robot in a position to where you re-unlock these forward spawns. Munching's gonna have a sound barrier. We see some swaps. Panda is on the brig. But really the only ultimate we're looking at is the sound barrier. But the problem is Snoops almost has his blade. You have to save it.
Snoops does not have anything right now. Got a great shot there from Still to take down Genji, but he's going to trade Piccho in turn with a headshot on it to Goose, though. Munching, it drops the beat. And it'll help keep them durable and may help them in the fight, but maybe a little bit late.
But that's huge for them to be able to stop the bot before it crossed over that first checkpoint to re-get the forward spawns. So you're going to have to take a much further fight. So they might have an ability. I mean, you're going to be able to stop them before they get to this checkpoint, but you have a blade. as that we saw, Munching use that sound barrier, but you can counter the blade by grabbing it. You just have to be ready in your splash.
I'm sure the splash is ready for it as the blade comes out. The grab not gonna be able to find Snoop there. Pops the blade, kills Kick Joe, and the Graviton Surge does not get anybody, unfortunately. But what does happen is that Burrito finds Boost, and the Kitsune Rush comes out, helps them take down Najila. And I mean, Boxer Walker is looking a little bit worse for wear, goes down, as does Burrito, and it's a scrappy fight. But no one is going to come out on top and finally get the checkpoint.
And this is very, very promising for no one. They're not going to be able to get this checkpoint and take this. I mean, they're going to be able to get the checkpoint, but they're not going to be able to take the lead. As King's Gambit coming back, and they're going to have a lot of tools in their chest. 1 minute left on the clock. No one has to find an answer to getting themselves back into this series.
Tactical Visor comes out, but a little bit of pause, I guess. Oh, hi guys, I didn't really expect this, but the Tactical Visor came out from King's Gambit, so you gotta think no one is gonna have to run away from that.
Had a little bit of some technical difficulties. Unfortunately, our observer's game crashed. So, unfortunately, I'm not sure how much we are going to be able to show you of this final map, but I'll tell you guys what, we're going to throw it to a break. And when we come back, we'll let you know the results. And if we have a map number 5, we'll be able to bring that to you live. Oh, okay. I'm wrong. Apparently, we're able to actually get into the lobby much faster than we were thinking. So thank you to the teams. Just waiting on an invite, but it was a very promising, comeback for no one, but it was going to be tough because coming back and facing King's Gambit, who had about 4 ultimates to be able to use, and you only have 1 minute left on the clock, and you unfortunately were not able to get full value out of that last Graviton Surge.
No, and I mean, that's a scary bank for King's Gambit. I mean, no one definitely gonna have to kite around the Tactical Visor that we saw there. Not sure what kind of value it saw, if we'll get to see the value. Maybe they paused for us if we're lucky. I'm not 100% expecting that. Just technical issues happen. But King's Gambit had so much in the bank, and they, it was really, really close, but they didn't give up the lead there. It was another 3 or 4 meters they had to give before no one took the lead. So they could still play defensively in this point. And, with that Tactical Visor, it puts your Lucio especially in trouble. But I guess we'll see what King's Gambit does or did with their ult bank if or when we get back in.
Yeah. Yeah, so there was about a minute left on the clock. I do agree. You had a couple ultimates to be able to use if you were no one. So I think what you needed to do there was force yourself back to the mid ground, around like the train and the subway, and just play defensively. Because if you can win a fight in the mid like that, you're going to be able to take that lead. So that would have been their big win condition. But as I mentioned, it was going to be tough. 1 minute on the clock, 4 ultimates for the other team. It was going to be hard.
Yeah, and apparently the game is over, or at least the map is over, which was what was going to happen no matter what, no matter who won or lost. So once we know who won the map, we will let y'all know. Unfortunately, like we said, our observer crashed. It doesn't happen very often. It's just unfortunate when it does happen. We are trying to get this figured out, if we're gonna go to a map 5, if we are gonna go to if the game's over. And it looks like, according to our observer who is trying to get back in, they've left the lobby. So it's looking like King's Gambit is going to take the series 3-1 over no one.
Yeah, so apologies to everyone who was watching for quite an anticlimactic ending. I mean, just pretend like what I was saying. 4 ultimates for King's Gambit. They unleash them all, not at once, but, you know, nicely staggered, and they're able to just take a minute off the clock and take that victory 3-1, as no one is going to be sent to the losers bracket as King's Gambit advances through.
Yeah, I mean, these teams talked a big game, and it was close for the most part. You know, Lijiang Tower went heavily in favor of no one. King's Gambit just wasn't able to respond to the Wrecking Ball with the Reinhardt like you would have wanted to. But then they caught fire on King's Row. You know, they did allow the full capture on their defense, but it was in overtime, and they took advantage of that, capturing the point with a minute. I think it was 57 seconds on the clock, a minute 57. So almost 2 minutes, and they took advantage of that. Moving into map 4 on Servasa, it was all gas, no brakes for King's Gambit. I mean, the Orisa was just dominant, suffocating on Servasa. And then, you know, unfortunately, we did not get to see the end of New Queen Street, but once again, King's Gambit does come out on top. So, you know, they're going to move forward into... they're gonna move forward in the tournament. I don't know if it's the quarterfinals. I think it's the quarterfinals though.
So with that, that's gonna pretty much wrap things up here for us on the production side. Again, apologies that we couldn't get you that last bit of that final map. Very sucks for all of us. I would have loved to cast it. You guys would have loved to seen it. King's Gambit takes the victory 3-1 over no one. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to Rhino, VOD, and Boom for producing and observing. Thank you, Fletch, for joining. Before we go, keep in mind CGL_2. Make sure to go tune into that. They have a matchup between Shigegami and Ya, and it is currently 1-1, and they are on New Junk City. So you're not going to want to miss that. But for us, that's going to be it. I've been Too Hard Ray, joined by In the Fletch, and we will see you guys later.
Memories. Memories.